Greetings to all of you. Thank you for being present, because that is where everything begins with presence. Before we talk about the future, before we think about improvement or success, we must first learn to be here in this moment. That alone is a great achievement in today's world. The topic we reflect on today is one that holds great importance, not only in the Shaolin tradition, but in every human life. How do we overcome our inner enemies? Let me ask you something. What is holding you back right now? What is stopping you from becoming the person you know you are capable of becoming? Most people point outward. They blame the job, the schedule, the lack of opportunity. The Shaolin path teaches us something different. It teaches us that the greatest battles are never outside of us. They are always inside. There are 5 inner enemies that we face each day, whether we see them or not: doubt, fear, laziness, arrogance, and distraction. And these enemies are silent. They don't announce their arrival. They creep in through your habits. They whisper through your thoughts, disguise themselves as comfort, as rest, even as realism. But make no mistake, these are the forces that weaken your spirit. So how do we fight back? The first step is awareness. If you cannot see the enemy, you cannot defeat it. So you must learn to observe your own mind. Notice how your thoughts react when you face difficulty. Notice what excuses appear when you don't feel like showing up. This is not judgment. This is training. Shaolin Way is not to suppress these inner enemies, but to understand them. Only through understanding can you transform them. Let's begin with doubt. Doubt says, I can't. But what it really means is, I am afraid to fail. To overcome doubt, you must take action. Even a small step forward silences that voice. Confidence is not something you are born with. It is something you build by doing what you thought you couldn't. Is fear. Fear of judgment. Fear of rejection. Fear of loss. But here is what fear truly is: a prediction of pain that hasn't happened yet. It's the mind running to the future instead of staying in the now. Breathe. Return to this moment. In this moment, fear has no power over you. The third enemy is laziness. Laziness is not about being tired. It is about forgetting your purpose. When you remember why you began, your energy returns. Shaolin monks do not train for comfort. They train to discipline the spirit. And that discipline is the antidote to laziness. Then we have arrogance. Arrogance is the belief that you no longer need to grow. It stops learning, blocks humility. Always remain a student, especially of yourself. The more you know, the more you understand that there is more to learn. Finally, we face distraction. Distraction steals your time, your focus, your life. You don't lose your path all at once. You lose it one unimportant click, one meaningless hour, one unconscious decision at a time. So guard your attention. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. What is the goal of overcoming these enemies? It is not to become perfect. It is to become aware, disciplined, and present. When you are present, you are no longer reacting to life. You are responding with wisdom. When you are disciplined, you do not wait for motivation. You act with clarity. And when you are aware, you do not fight blindly. You choose your battles. And this is how the future is created. Not through force, not through wishing, but through mastering this moment. Overcoming your inner enemies today shapes the person you become tomorrow. Every time you rise in the morning and choose discipline over comfort, every time you choose to train your mind when others give in, every time you breathe through the fear instead of running from it, you are becoming stronger. You are becoming free. In the Shaolin Temple, strength is not measured by how hard you hit. It is measured by how still you can remain, how patient, how focused, and how deeply you understand yourself. Because once you conquer the mind, once you silence the enemy within, nothing left outside that can truly defeat you. So take this day, make it yours. Breathe deeply, walk calmly, and act with intention. Because the future you dream of is not found tomorrow. It is forged today in this moment. Moment is yours. The true enemy is not out there. It never was. From the beginning, the greatest challenges you have faced, the ones that made you hesitate, that made you feel stuck, whispered that you were not enough, those didn't come from the outside world. they came from within, it is easy to point the finger outward. It is easy to say, my environment is too difficult, or people are holding me back. But the Shaolin path does not allow that kind of blame. It asks you to turn inward. It demands that you look into the mirror, not the one on your wall, the mirror inside your own mind. Because the enemy you are fighting is not someone else's opinion. It is your own self-doubt. The voice in your head that says, you're too late. The fear that says, you'll fail like last time. The laziness that tells you to skip the hard work today, just this once. These voices do not belong to anyone else. They are your own patterns. They are your own shadows. And the longer you run from them, the more power they have over you. But once you stop running, once you sit with them, face them, listen without judgment, something shifts. You begin to see clearly. You begin to realize that these enemies are not your natural state. You were not born to fear, to procrastinate, to stay small. These are learned behaviors. And what has been learned can be unlearned. The enemy within is not to declare war on yourself. It is to begin the process of healing. To move from unconscious reaction to conscious response. Because once you become aware of your inner obstacles, you are no longer controlled by them. You become the observer, and the observer has power. This is not a path of comfort. It is a path of discipline. And discipline is often misunderstood. People think it means harshness, punishment, rigidity. But true discipline is an act of compassion. It is saying to yourself, I care enough about who I can become that I will not give in to who I used to be. When you rise each morning with discipline, you are not doing something painful. You are doing something sacred. You are choosing to face the part of you that wants to hide, the part of you that wants ease over growth. And you are saying, not today. You are saying, I am more than my habits. I am more than my fears. Some days will be harder than others. The inner enemy does not give up quickly. It will disguise itself. It will pretend to be logic or comfort, or even self-care. It will say, you deserve a break. It will say, this goal is unrealistic anyway. But behind those words is the same old pattern, the same fear of failure, the same resistance to transformation. So what do? You stay, you breathe, you watch the mind, and you do not follow its old roads. You build a new path, one step at a time. You may stumble. That is part of it. But each time you get up and continue, the inner enemy becomes weaker. Not because you've crushed it, because you've outgrown it. Remember, no one will ever fight you more than your own mind when you try to change. And that is why the inner enemy must be your focus, not your competitors, not the opinions of strangers, expectations of the world. Only the inner war matters. Because once that is won, everything else becomes simple. Not easy, but clear. This is the heart of the Shaolin way. You do not need to escape your life, your job, your family, or your circumstances. You need only to confront your inner patterns. When you bring awareness to them, they begin to dissolve. When you act with intention rather than impulse, you shift from surviving to living. Is not philosophy for monks alone. This is not a path reserved for temples and silence. This is for every person who wakes up with a goal and a doubt in the same breath. This is for the one who wants to break a habit, to overcome fear, to live fully, not someday. But now the enemy you've been running from is tired too. It is waiting for you to stop and look it in the eyes. And when you do, you will see it was never there to destroy you. It was there to awaken you. It was there to test whether you were serious about becoming who you say you want to be. So don't run. Don't fight blindly. Breathe, understand, and then act. Not from fear, but from clarity. Not from reaction, but from presence. You are not here to defeat others. You are here to master yourself. That is the real victory. And that is where your future begins. Discipline is not punishment, is not something that restricts you or suppresses your spirit. True discipline is an expression of self-respect. It is a silent promise you make to yourself that you will not abandon your growth. You will not betray your potential. Many people misunderstand what discipline truly is. They believe it is harsh, rigid, something to be avoided unless absolutely necessary. But in truth, discipline is a quiet and consistent act of love. It is how you show that you value your time, your body, your thoughts, and your life. When you live without discipline, you hand your life over to impulses. You allow mood, comfort, and convenience to dictate your path. But impulses do not build peace. They build chaos. They give pleasure in one moment and regret in the next. And when regret becomes a pattern, suffering follows. But when you live with discipline, you begin to structure your life around what matters. You rise even when it's easier to sleep. You move your body even when your mind resists. You stay with difficult emotions instead of running from them. You do what is necessary, not because it feels good in the moment, but because it builds something better in the long term. This is what it means to respect yourself. To no longer live by accident, but to live with intention. Discipline is not about denying yourself joy. It is about choosing a deeper kind of joy. The kind that comes from knowing you are aligned with your values. The kind that comes from looking in the mirror and saying, I showed up for myself today. And let us be honest, some days you will not feel like showing up. You will feel tired, uninspired, perhaps even hopeless. But that is exactly why discipline matters. Because on those days, you need something stronger than motivation. Motivation is a mood. It comes and goes. Discipline is a commitment. It stays. If you wait for motivation to train, to work, to reflect, to heal, you will spend your life waiting. If you cultivate discipline, you take back control. You are no longer a servant to your emotions. You become the master of your actions. Think of the Shaolin monk who wakes before sunrise. He does not ask himself, do I feel like training today? He trains because training is part of his path. It is not optional. It is part of who he is. That is discipline. Not forcing, but flowing with your higher intention, even when your lower habits resist. And this is available to you too. You don't need to wear robes or live in a temple to practice discipline. Every time you resist the temptation to numb yourself with distraction, you are practicing. Every time you take one more conscious breath instead of reacting impulsively, you are practicing. Every time you say no to what is easy and yes to what is right, you are training your mind. The beautiful truth is this: discipline grows stronger the more you use it. The first time you choose to rise early, it's difficult. But the 10th time, it feels natural. The more you repeat a conscious action, the more it becomes part of you. Eventually, what once felt like effort becomes your new normal. And that is how transformation happens, not through one dramatic act, but through small, consistent choices made with intention. Discipline is not about perfection. You will miss days. You will stumble. You will fall. But even then, discipline is not lost. It lives in the choice to get back up. It lives in the refusal to give up on yourself. Self-respect means allowing yourself to fall without allowing yourself to stay down. To be disciplined is to live in alignment with what you say you want. If you say you want clarity, but you clutter your day with noise, there is no alignment. If you say you want health, but ignore the needs of your body, there is no alignment. If you say you want peace, but feed yourself conflict, there is no alignment. Discipline restores that alignment. It brings your words, your values, and your actions into harmony. And when that harmony exists, something powerful happens. You stop being at war with yourself. You stop needing to prove things to others. You walk your path not with anxiety, but with quiet confidence. Because you know you are living with integrity. Discipline frees you. It gives you the ability to act with clarity even in chaos. Stay grounded even when emotions rise. To keep moving forward even when the path is steep. It gives you access to a strength that is not shaken by external events, because it is rooted deeply inside. So when you think of discipline, do not picture suffering. Picture strength. Picture peace. Picture a life where you can trust yourself fully, where you do not make promises to yourself and break them, where your actions consistently reflect your highest values, not restriction. That is freedom, and that freedom is earned one disciplined day at a time. Change begins with awareness. Mastery begins with awareness. Peace, growth, all of them begin with a simple moment of recognition, the moment you see clearly. not through the lens of ego, fear, or habit, but through the calm eyes of observation. Most people move through life unconsciously. They repeat the same reactions, the same patterns, the same mistakes, all while wondering why nothing changes. But the truth is, nothing can change if it is not first seen. You cannot heal what you avoid. You cannot grow from what you deny. You must be willing to observe without judgment. To cultivate awareness is to become the watcher of your own mind. It is to notice the emotions as they rise, the thoughts as they pass, and the urges as they pull you. You begin to realize that you are not your emotions. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who sees them. This realization is powerful because once you separate yourself from the noise inside, you begin to take back your freedom. You are no longer controlled by anger. You see the anger and choose how to respond. You are no longer trapped by fear. You notice the fear and breathe through it. You are no longer pushed by distraction. You recognize the pull and return to your focus. In Shaolin practice, this kind of awareness is not optional. It is foundational. Without it, there is no control over the body, no discipline of the mind, no depth to spiritual understanding. It is through awareness that a practitioner learns to move deliberately, to speak consciously, to live with purpose. But this kind of awareness does not happen by accident. It must be trained. Just as the muscles of the body must be exercised, so too must the muscle of the mind. And the training begins with stillness. When you sit in silence, when you observe your breath, when you slow your pace, you create space. And in that space, awareness grows. You begin to notice things you were too busy to see before, how easily your mind jumps to judgment, how often your body tenses, how frequently your thoughts spiral into the future or the past. At first, this can feel uncomfortable. You may not like what you see. You may notice fear, impatience, insecurity. But remember, awareness is not about judging those things. It is about seeing them clearly. Because only when they are seen can they be transformed. Awareness turns reaction into response. Instead of automatically snapping at someone when you feel stressed, you pause. You breathe. You recognize the stress, and you choose a different action. That 1 second of awareness makes the difference between conflict and connection, between chaos and calm. And this does not only apply to the difficult moments. Awareness also deepens your experience of joy. It makes you present. When you eat, you actually taste. When you walk, you actually feel the ground beneath your feet. When you speak with someone, you actually listen, not to respond, to understand. This is what it means to be alive, not just to exist, but to experience fully. Without awareness, you miss your life. Days blur together. Emotions control your actions. Habits lead you blindly. But with awareness, life opens up. Even the ordinary becomes meaningful. Even struggle becomes a teacher. Awareness is the root of mastery because it brings choice. Without it, you are a prisoner of your past conditioning. But with it, you become free to shape your future with intention. You can see your patterns and decide which ones to keep and which ones to let go. You can interrupt the automatic and replace it with the conscious. This applies to all areas of life. In your work, awareness helps you notice your focus, your energy, your effort. In your relationships, it helps you speak with clarity and listen with compassion. In your inner world, allows you to guide your thoughts instead of being swept away by them. The path to mastery is not about adding more. It is about seeing more clearly, seeing more honestly. And that begins with attention. Attention to your breath, attention to your thoughts, attention to your actions. This attention is not tight or forceful. It is gentle and consistent. Even if you start with just 5 minutes a day, it is enough. Sit, breathe, observe. That is all. There is no need to analyze. Just watch. You will be surprised how much begins to shift simply through noticing. And over time, you will realize something extraordinary. The more aware you become, the less control the inner enemies have over you. Because awareness exposes their tactics. It reveals their disguises. And once they are seen, they begin to dissolve. That is the power of awareness. It does not fight. It simply sees. What is seen clearly can no longer manipulate you. So wherever you're on your journey, begin there. Start by observing one moment, one breath, one reaction, and return to that again and again, because every moment of awareness is a step toward freedom, a step toward mastery, a step toward becoming who you were always meant to be. We often imagine mastery as something grand, a dramatic transformation, a powerful breakthrough, changing moment. But this image is misleading. True mastery is not the result of one extraordinary event. It is the quiet accumulation of small, ordinary moments. The moments no one sees. The moments you choose to stay when it's easier to walk away. The moments you keep going, not because anyone is watching, but because you made a promise to yourself. It is easy to be inspired in big moments, easy to feel motivated when everything aligns. But mastery is not about what you do when conditions are perfect. Mastery is built when conditions are not ideal. It is built when the morning is cold, when the body is tired, when the results are invisible. It is built when there is every reason to stop, but you continue anyway. Each time you choose to stay consistent, you build something invisible inside yourself, a strength, clarity, trust. You train the mind to move beyond emotion, beyond convenience. And slowly, you begin to realize that greatness is not found in intensity. It is found in consistency. 1,000 small efforts, 1,000 simple choices, again and again, is the way of the Shaolin path. Every movement, every breath, every repetition is an opportunity to train, not just the body, but the mind. A single punch practiced with full awareness contains more wisdom than 100 performed with distraction. A single step taken with full presence becomes a tool for inner development. People often search for shortcuts. They want to leap over the process to reach the goal without walking the path. But in doing so, they miss the essence of the journey, because it is the repetition, the quiet work, the unnoticed effort that shapes your character. You become what you repeat, and what you repeat you become. This applies not just in physical training, but in all aspects of life. If you repeatedly react with impatience, impatience becomes your habit. If you repeatedly avoid discomfort, avoidance becomes your nature. But if you repeatedly return to focus, to stillness, to right action, then those qualities begin to take root within you. Every moment matters, even the smallest ones, especially the smallest ones, because those are the moments when transformation is silently taking place. The moment you choose to sit in silence rather than scroll your phone. The moment you decide to hold your posture a few seconds longer. The moment you choose to breathe instead of react. These are not dramatic acts, but they are powerful because they shift the direction of your life 1 degree at a time. And a 1 degree shift, repeated daily, leads you to an entirely different destination. Mastery requires patience. It requires the humility to begin again, every day, without attachment to immediate results. It asks that you fall in love with the process, not just the outcome, because the process is where you are shaped. The process is where discipline, awareness, and self-respect are cultivated. There is no finish line, no final moment when you will say, "Now I am a master." Because mastery is not a destination. It is a relationship. A relationship between you and your practice, between you and your values. It is a way of being, and this relationship is built 1 moment at a time. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to be extraordinary. You only need to be sincere. Show up. Do the work. Trust the process. This is how the most powerful transformations unfold. Quietly, gently, like water shaping stone. Some days, the progress will feel invisible. You will question whether anything is changing. But those are the most important days. Because when you continue without reward, when you act without applause, when you persist through the unseen hours, that is when mastery is being forged. In the end, no one sees the hours you spend alone. No one sees the doubts you wrestle with, the setbacks you endure, the discipline you practice in silence. But those moments matter. They build you. They shape the person you become. And eventually they become visible, not in your words, but in your presence. Mastery is not loud. It is not boastful. It does not need to prove itself. True mastery is quiet, steady, grounded. It is not about controlling others or displaying power. It is about mastering yourself, your mind, your energy, your intentions. So wherever you are on your journey, return to the small moments. Let them be your teachers. Let them be enough. Each time you show up with sincerity, you are walking the path. And the path is always here, beneath your feet, within your breath, inside your next decision. Future is not something you wait for. It is something you build moment by moment, breath by breath, choice by choice. Keep building, keep returning, keep refining. Because mastery is not found in the future, found in this moment. And this moment is already here. In the journey of life, there are no shortcuts that can carry you past your own mind. The true struggle is not against the outside world, but against the forces that lie within: doubt, fear, laziness, anger, and pride. These are the inner enemies. They do not wear armor, and they do not shout. They whisper. They appear when you are tired, when you are discouraged, when you are alone. And it is in those moments that your true strength is tested. Not the strength of your body, but the strength of your spirit. Overcoming these inner enemies does not require violence. It requires understanding. You do not defeat darkness by fighting it. You defeat it by turning on the light. The light is awareness. The light is discipline. The light is the steady glow of small actions, repeated with care and conviction. Important to remember that every person faces this inner war. It is not a sign of weakness that you experience doubt or fear. It is a sign that you